What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for another VOD review. Today, we're doing another Setsuko VOD review because, the guy's still rank 1. He's still the, by far, highest rated player on the server. But I feel like we've done a lot of Setsuko VOD reviews, we've watched a lot of this guy, but I've actually neglected to show you one of the tricks in Setsuko's bag of tricks. This is a line that he's actually been playing a lot more recently. We covered the very standard Vanguard Vex Fast 9 line that Setsuko likes to play in a lot of his games, but what happens if you want to go Fast 9 and you aren't in a situation to play around exactly Vanguards, if you don't end up hitting all of those units, or even if you don't have a bunch of extra AP items, right? If you have items for Vex, but maybe you have a lot of AD items, that board really has no out for it. And so, because of that, Setsuko has been playing this different version of the comp a lot of the time, which we're going to talk about today. We are watching a Setsuko VOD, and so he has an Econ opener, and he sees an Econ Augment, and he is already really considering that. I'm quite surprised he even thinks about Treasure Hunt because his name's Setsuko. I would think if he was a normal TFT player, then you could maybe see a Treasure Hunt in this spot, and you could even play this into a Belveth reroll game, but it's Setsuko. We are going to play this from, as strong a board as possible and hopefully make it to Fast 9 here. This is a very, very strong Briar here, though, so we are going to take an early loss here. But, no harm, no foul. We are starting here with the 3 Primordian opener, and we also have the 2 Timebreaker as well. So, yeah, speaking of 2 Timebreaker, by the way, if you guys haven't seen the changes for next patch is going to be crazy. They are basically making 2 Timebreaker no longer the econ option that it once was. They're moving that up to 3 Timebreaker. Honestly, I went through the changes today on stream, but it was just the changes that were on tactics.tools, and then Riot TrueXY put out some more information about the new patch, and it's actually looking really, really solid. There are a few things that I have some gripes with, but overall, I'm excited to see that the shape that the meta takes here. Setsuko, by the way, taking the shape of making 20 gold here, right? He wants to make as much gold as possible in a spot like this, and so he does end up actually just making 20 there and fielding just the 2 Timebreaker to go on a loss streak, to get all these free rerolls that he's going to use hopefully on level 9, but we'll see what shape this entire game takes here. We can just continue our loss streak in this spot here. Really don't have to worry too much. Look at the rest of the lobby. I don't know that there's another player even who's open in this lobby, so that's pretty good for us, just allowing us to kind of like full loss streak for free here, get all these extra rerolls, and get as quickly as possible to our savings account gold. He just immediately grabs the better together from Soraka, by the way, here. Does not even look at the other option. I will say, this is a pretty mediocre setup for Fast 9 in terms of gods. You really like stuff like Ari. Even Evelyn can provide you a bunch of extra gold. The problem being that, usually she hurts you for that, and when I'm trying to go Fast 9, don't like getting hurt. But still, Soraka can at least provide you a little bit of gold, a little bit of extra HP, which is actually nice in spots like this where we are, full open. The extra HP can allow us to stabilize on, an extra life, and the difference between, 1 extra life can be the difference between going first and going 8th in a lot of these lobbies. If you can make it to level 9 with all of this extra, resources, but on 1 life, well, you can just delay 1 extra round on that, 1 life, if you are, playing it how Setsuko is playing it. Check this out as well here. Just Setsuko, never one to get out-inted in spots like these, so he is going to sell basically everything because he knows he has Ezreal in shop here, and so last second he can pick up this Ezreal, really kind of make Artix think that he is just straight up going to int, and Artix cannot sell a lot of these 1 costs playing the early learnings, right? He must hold on to stuff like Twisted Fate too, so it's impossible for him to ever get out-inted here. So Setsuko can easily make that 50 gold here, get that 5 loss streak, and just have a ton of gold to work with this game, and be very quickly accelerating to, potentially our savings account here, potentially making 60 gold this round as long as we get any gold from Krugs here, because obviously savings account gives you that extra, potential interest here. But yeah, the one thing I will say is this is actually pretty different from some of the other Fast 9 games that I've VOD reviewed for Setsuko. I feel like in a lot of my games that I'm VOD reviewing, he is doing this kind of like win streak angle. So it's cool to see this kind of like loss streak Fast 9 angle, especially because look at this roll down. The idea being a few things. 1, we can roll for Anima here, and 2, we can just roll for some better units to play on the board. He actually misses on Anima, and so he says, you know what, I am not going to, go too crazy on, sending it to 0 here for Anima squad. Anima, very, very good to get onto my board, but I don't want to screw up my items or my spot too much by, rolling all of my gold here. So he just rolls it down to the point where he's still got 50 gold left. If he rolls again, he would have to, do stuff like sell Samira potentially. And so he just, rolls as deep as he can with those rolls, still makes 50, and still gets in this double econ opener, right? The Primordian plus the Timebreaker. All right. Second augment here. None of these look great for Fast 9. You'd love some kind of Priz econ here. 1 buff, 2 buff, I guess, can give you, the dupe to play with. A new recruit. I mean, now this does look like our best option here because that also gives us the dupe. But we don't have to, worry about, having to figure out a home for this red buff and blue buff, especially because we already have a Sunfire made. These are triple combat augments. I do think you have to take new recruit in this spot and just use the dupe to hopefully find a 2-star 5 cost. And speaking of find, he does pick up the Alawi here. Only issue is it's a little late, right? It's a 3-2 Alawi, which means we're not actually going to have the 300 Anima cash out for losing the next 4 fights. Now, he can also sack 4-1 and get to the 300 cash out, which I feel like is going to be the game plan for Setsuko here, especially if we do get extra HP off of Soraka here. But we will see. It's a bit of a very scary spot, I would say, honestly. He also made the Giant Slayer slam and is looking at making, he makes the adaptive slam here. So you can see, leaves this bow open here, but wants to slam every item that he can to save as much HP as possible here. Certainly, we can slam versus this guy. They have a very, very strong board with the Space Groove spat. I don't know if we're going to kill any units here. Yeah, it's looking like we are not going to kill any here. So another bad loss for Setsuko. But he can easily take 2 more losses. The third loss is going to be a little bit dubious, but we'll see. We'll see the path that Setsuko wants to take here. Does grab the Soraka side again here, just really for the Giant's Belt and Sword here. Nothing crazy in my head that we're just, slamming out of this. I guess you could make Sterax, talking to this idea of making AD items and actually going Fast 9, but we'll see here. Obviously going to save. It's the Belt Rod here. So this now makes perfect sense, right? We're getting the Gwinsu's Rage Blade, and now we can actually, have that Gwinsu's 4 Vex, which, if you're going Fast 9, you have to be playing around Vex. That is just how TFT works on this patch. He's also actually afraid that he's going to accidentally win this fight. He does end up killing off the Joseph Gath here, which is pretty nice. But yeah, you can see why. It's actually a very close fight that he does actually... Oh, God, he does actually end up winning this fight. Wow, the board just didn't have any DPS behind it. He just had too many units in on this board, honestly. I thought the Pantheon with Gargoyle would be tanky enough, but honestly, now that I think about it, Setsuko does have 8 units on his board, and even 8, mediocre units without items, it's still damage. And so now, wow, this is actually like a pretty bad Fast 9 spot, I would say. It's actually like really, really rough. We get the Gwinsu's Rage Blade made here, sure, but we're going to take another loss here to truly reach 200 stacks. It's actually like basically impossible at this point. We might have to just ditch Anima here. Now, we do have our extra econ that we're getting here, so that's not bad. But yeah, it might have to be just a full ditch on the Anima. We'll see here, because it's only 30 stacks for that next win here. Means that we're in a spot where we need to get a lot of unit kills now. He is still, because he did win that fight, pretty healthy. So, he can into 200, but it's also just like the 200 caches are just not that great. We are going to level up here. Going to grab the glove here with this idea. Once again, I'm moving towards, potentially more like AD style options. Is just going to make the TG. We've talked about this many a time before. TG is just so good when you're going Fast 9, especially in the line that we're going to go for this game. As you'll see, there's so many different units that you can itemize here, is that you will never feel bad. Lucky Gloves, Band of Thieves, just anything that gives you TGs will never feel bad. Take another loss down to 23 HP, and he does have to sack 1 more fight if he wants to reach 200 here. Really would like some kind of econ, but he finds Misfits here, okay? Let me pull that up real quick. So, if you guys haven't taken this augment yet, aside from some kind of like Giga Econ augment that would allow him to get here, and honestly, even with that being a possibility, this might be the best single augment we can get in the entire game. Now, a lot of people, when they read this augment for the first time, they misread it. Your team gains 55 HP for each active unique trait. Gain a Rasta Misfortune. A lot of people think, oh, okay, well, it's giving me a Ross, so it probably wants me to play vertical. No, it says unique trait. It's talking about stuff like Oracle, or stuff like Ross trait, Redeemer, or any of the 5-cost traits this set that are their own unique traits. This is really, really good for specifically the line that we're going to play this game. And in general, these type of Fast 9 lines where you're playing a lot of 5-costs, you're seeing a lot of these orange traits on the left, and you are, just getting all of these individual ones in here. That is the idea behind what Setsuko is doing here, and that is what we are going to absolutely play for this game. We pre-level up just to make sure that we're making 70 gold here, and then we are very likely to see a Giga Send next round after we get that itty bitty 200 cash out. Honestly, doesn't even almost feel worth going for at this point anymore, but he's got to sack one more round anyway for the econ, so we might as well chill here. The dream would be to win a fight like this. This guy's got a Belveth 2, though not a lot of other stuff, but I don't think we can win. It's really close. I mean, this is actually a really good loss for Setsuko. Drops him down to only 14 HP here. Now I'm going to bring it down to 1x speed, because this is going to be a very big pivot turn for Setsuko. He's 14 HP. He has got to send it here. And look at this. He is selling literally every single unit on his board, except for the one unit that does have a trait here. Now, what are we rolling for? I think Setsuko might even be rolling without a planner here. The idea behind this line is you essentially play every single 5-cost that you can fit on this board, and then you fit Nova in on top of it. So you can see we're holding stuff like the Jin here. We actually ran out of gold pretty quickly because we had a lot of 2-star 5-costs. But you can see we have that 2 Nova in that's kind of linking up all these other traits. TGs can go onto these melee style units. We can make Sterax here, and then even throw the Guiding Hex onto the Vex here. So this is the idea. Now, usually the Nova units that you want to actually link up here are Atrox and Akali. The idea being Atrox for Bastion on your entire board, and then Akali for Marauder on your entire board, linking up with Shen and Fiora. We didn't actually hit any of those this game, which is a little bit funny, but hopefully we will make it there. We do get the Vex off Carousel, which is huge here. By the way, the discipline of Setsuko to not dupe that Vex there, saying, you know what? I'm really, really strong here. I'm confident that I can win here. I find the Akali here, which once again is such a nice trade for the board. And now we're getting into the board. And like I talked about, the really, really nice thing about this board is you can play all these other 5-costs that the other boards just can't simply play. So we can play stuff like the Graves here. We can play stuff like the Fiora here. We can move the Sterax over to put onto the Fiora and then take Assault Frame onto Graves. The idea being, yes, the spell crit one is quite good, but we really want to throw TG onto this guy and just make him a very strong melee carry. Now, the only scary thing is this fight. Oh my God, that was a close fight versus the other Fast 9 board. That is insane. Gonna pick up Buckshot for this Graves. Just want him to be doing as much damage as possible. And yeah, he is just rolling it down. I do love this little, normally, like I said, it's the idea that you play Shen with Atrox as your setup, and then you can use ideally like a Nunu plus a Blitzcrank as your front line. He actually said, well, I can actually play this cool version where I play Tahm Kench plus Maokai here. I haven't actually seen this, but it makes perfect sense, right? Especially when you're in the situation where you're taking Misfits here. You have all these bruisers in on your board. You get the Oracle onto your board, which is really, really nice. Can we take this? Gwinsu's Rageblade for Vex? Not much else here. We are missing out on... I mean, not really much here. We're missing on like Fiora items and yeah, like some kind of real Vex items. He's going to reforge actually to look for a better tank item. And yeah, he is just going to take this because it's really hard to pass up. Actually, does he build Death Cap or Gwinsu's here? Because I know the stats actually don't mind Death Cap at all. Yeah, the stats actually really, really like Death Cap on a Vex here. So is going to be a Death Cap here. I think this makes a lot of sense. Also, Ops, this is a really cool little addition. Ops, you have the Chosif Gath on this board here instead of playing around the Maokai. So loses out Tahm Kench. So he ends up losing out on the Oracle trait, so that's -1 trait, but he's getting Dark Star in on this board, which is a very nice little splash trait, which can help you, especially on a board like this where Vex is very consistently dealing damage. You can get a lot of value out of that Dark Star here. Would be and is also better value for Redeemer here as well, which is giving us a little bit more extra armor and armor onto our entire board here. But yeah, I mean, you can see, look at this board here. Also, look at the moves on the TGs. Ops to say, I have this IE red buff TG on Jin. I need every fight win that I can get here. Gonna move that last second down to the Jin here, spike our board, and then throw the tank items onto the Shen. I know Shen is not a tank in the real definition of the unit. He is technically a fighter. But in the much more realistic case scenario, this guy's ability gives him a big shield, so you can use him as a tank on boards like this. It's actually pretty solid. What I will say is Setsuko is pretty unhappy about these TGs as he's zooming in. He doesn't really have enough removers to move them all. Wait, what was that? He accidentally... Wait, he accidentally moved Vex off the board? Oh my god. I mean, it's okay. I guess we didn't want our win streak. I'm trying to think of like what that was. If this is some Gigabrain idea, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean that was just, I mean, quite. I mean, it allows him to move items around, I guess. Yeah, I do not think that was intentional out of Setsuko. If it was, and there's some Gigabrain reason why he just ended a fight, let me know. But I think it was just Setsuko was getting antsy, moving all the units around, and accidentally swapped out his Vex. Which, I mean, the upside is we have the Soraka boon that is slowly healing us up by 1 HP, and we have the Fiora who's healing us up as well. So we actually healed up to enough that we weren't even really like, you know, dead there, and now we're continuing to heal up to like 40 HP here. Really, he's looking at stuff like Buckshot. Yeah, he's really just taking like the most high damage option that he can find here, saying, I don't really need this Graves to be tanky at all. I just want him to be a very strong damage dealer frontliner, which is an interesting idea, but it, you know, it makes a lot of sense here. Rotate into one of these other very strong fast 9 boards with a Giga Graves here. The Fiora is eating a bunch of the aggro, but I think our Vex is just too strong. Yeah, this Vex setup is absolutely insane. So we're going to pick up another win, get up to 17 HP on the heal. We are also looking at potentially going fast 10 here in this spot. I mean, it's definitely something that we could do, and getting, obviously, any extra 5 cost onto this board would not be bad, but he might just roll down this round just because he's afraid of death, which, I mean, I get it. Setsuko, it's a scary thing in a spot like this, but honestly, I mean, do any of these upgrades matter? He scouts here to see, like, how strong are my matchups here? Is it possible that I'm going to like lose a matchup that I would otherwise win here? Wow, once again, kind of surprising. I thought it'd be just a slam Edge of Night here. Edge of Night Sterak's not great synergy, but you know, at least you keep your Fiora alive. But he's saying, nah, it's chill here. Oh my god, another actual little flub from Setsuko. He doesn't slam the Sona mod in time. He wastes too long trying to think about what unit it goes on, so it doesn't slam it down. Still does win the fight though. Just goes to show, you know, when your board's strong enough, you can make a few mistakes. Hey, I had a game like this today where I made a lot of mistakes, but I ended up going first just because I stabilized on strong enough board and I got through it. Does end up taking the Buckshot 2 here. Also rolled some really nice items. Wow, on both of these guys. Remember, the Nashers is even better in a spot like this because Jhin has spell crit naturally. The entire board has spell crit naturally and the Armor Namar Shred naturally from the Atrox and the Akali. It's such a good splash trade that you get in for just 2 units that are already giving you Bastion, which is a good team-wide buff, and Marauder, which is an okay team-wide buff. It does give your whole board 5% Omnivamp, which doesn't really matter, but it doesn't suck. And just like that, top 2 locked in for Setsuko. I think that's the other Fast 9 player, by the way, who is in our pool. Yep, that's the other Fast 9 player that we ended up losing to. Both of us have just healed up so much because both players are playing Fioras here. And you can see Setsuko kind of finally pivoting into the like kind of standard version of this board where you play around the Blitzcrank. Oftentimes you'll play Nunu on this board as your front line. But a really nice showing of Setsuko saying, you know what, no Nunu, no problem. I'll just play around the Shen as my main tank here. Let Vex do a ton of damage on this board, hit all my upgrades. That's one more win. We're going to get another item here, and if we can win the next fight, we'll have closed this game out from a very low HP spot to just a very good spot here. Is going to level up here, which is huge. Does grab the item Anvil here, so just looking for something a little bit better. Honestly, most of his units are full of items here, so yeah, he's going to move the Crown Guard over to Shen. Oh, guess what? He's going to try to Sector of Sunfire? Yeah, okay. Just put Sunfire here onto the roster and just make Shen our main tank here. Crown Guard's making his shield really, really big here. Honestly, the fight doesn't look close, and yeah, it's another first from Setsuko. I mean, just what a masterclass on how to Fast 9, how to play on this like different variation of Fast 9 where you are playing around the 2 Nova and then just all the 5 costs. You're playing around Misfits perfectly on this board. I mean, just a great game as usual from Setsuko, especially a game where he stumbled a lot, you know, dropped his loss streak with Anima. A lot of players would bot 4 from this spot, and Setsuko turns it into a first. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please like the video. Helps me out a ton and is completely free. Comment down below if you've played this version and what you think of it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my Twitch down below where I will be streaming. I stream 5 days a week starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So come check me out and check out my Metafy as well if you are interested in coaching. All right, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.